You are welcome to part 2 of our lecture on marketing management. Initially, I thought we could have it just in 2 parts, but looking at the content of the rest of the issues that we have to discuss, we may have to do another part. So today we'll be focusing on just product and price. So we'll be concentrating on the 4 P's, but we'll be starting with product and price today, and then our last lecture will be looking at place and promotion. Okay, but before we dive into that, I think it would be important to do a quick recap, especially of where we got to during the first lecture on marketing management. Okay, so as usual, I'll put my video off so that we can actually concentrate on the slides and get a better understanding of the issues. Okay. So we're starting with a recap of marketing mix. We said it refers to the primary elements that must be attended to in order to properly market a product or service. Okay, so if you want to market a particular product or service, these elements must be available. As a matter of fact, the product or the service itself is part of the marketing mix. So with goods, you need to have a product. You must know how to price that product. You must know how to distribute that product. And you must also know how to promote that product if you want to be able to sell products successfully to customers or consumers. Okay, so but if you're dealing with services, you have 3 more P's that you have to deal with. So with services, instead of the traditional 4 P's, product, promotion, place, and price, you have to consider additional 3 P's. And this consists of people, process, and fiscal evidence. Okay, these 3 additions are very, very important in the context of service, right? So we'll be giving much details about them in subsequent slides, but you just have to pay attention that when it comes to services, it is not enough to have a product, to have a good price, to know how to distribute and promote it, but you must also be interested in people, process, and fiscal evidence. Yes, so the first P that goes for product or services is the product that you have to pay attention to. So product in marketing is a good service or an idea consisting of a bundle of tangible and intangible attributes that satisfies consumers and is received in exchange for money or some other unit of value. So in the context of marketing, when you use the word product, it consists of both tangible and intangible attributes, right? So in a short, product stands for both goods and services. Goods are the tangible types of product, while services are the intangible types of product. So tangible means that goods can be felt, they can be touched and be held. But services are not things that you can actually hold and own. Okay, so that is very, very important in marketing. So a service is any act of performance that one party can offer another that is essentially intangible and does not result in the ownership of anything. All right, so at the end of this lecture, you might have gained additional knowledge. You might have had a better understanding of the concepts and issues we will be discussing, but you cannot provide any fiscal evidence that you actually took your time to listen to this particular lecture, because services are intangible, right? You cannot actually touch the service. You cannot own it as you might own your phone or your wallet or bottle of water or something of that sort. So services are largely intangible. All right. The production of services may or may not be tied to a physical product. That is also very, very important. For some services, you need some physical product to render the service. But the physical products or equipment is basically an aid to help you to be able to provide that service. So transportation is largely service. If you're into transportation business, it can be classified as a service industry, but you need cars in order to be able to carry out that particular service of transportation. Unless, of course, you are selling, if you are into the sale of cars, that is different. But if you are into picking people from one point to the other, you need a car to be able to provide that particular type of service. And many other services, medical services, you need certain equipment, you need certain medical tools, and so on and so forth to be able to offer that particular service. All right. So most services will need a physical product, but the service itself must be differentiated from the physical product that is needed to render that particular service. Okay. And there are services that could be purely intangible, right? Like software upgrades and things like that. Most of the time, you might not need any physical product to accompany the programs that will be needed to update your softwares. Okay, so some services may be purely intangible, but other services rely on physical products to be able to, for you to be able to offer them. Okay. So characteristics of services. Point one is that they are intangible. So intangibility. All right. The service cannot be held. A good example, as I said earlier, is the lecture that is going on right now. The best we can do is probably to record it, but you cannot hold a conversation right now. It's intangible. All right. So that is the first attribute of a service. You may be able to fill the service, but you can't hold it. All right. It's something intangible. And then perishability. Services are normally defined by time or constrained by time. Okay. Service is normally for a particular period of or time. Once you utilize that period, the service is gone. Or sometimes if you even fail to take advantage of that opportunity, the service again will not be available. If you need it, you must pay again for it. Okay, so a good example is if you have your mobile phone, at any point in time you want to use the mobile phone, you can just pick up your phone and use it, right? Because the mobile phone is a good. Okay, but if you were to book a flight and everything was set and you failed to actually go for that journey, the next time you want to, or the next day you want to go for that journey, you now have to pay the ticket afresh because the booking was for a particular period of time. All right. That goes for hotels and other forms of services. Most of the time, the service is perishable. Once you don't take advantage of it at the time that is delivered, that is the end of it. If we go back to our lecture, if it was to be, say, face-to-face lecture that I was delivering and you were not in class, once the lecture ends, nobody can actually hold the discussions we had in class and bring that to you. Okay, so services are perishable. Then the third quality is that of inseparability. Okay, so with goods, you don't necessarily have to know the manufacturer. You don't have to actually, even know the company. All that you need is to see the goods on the shelf of a particular shop and go and buy. But that is not the case of services. With services, you need a service provider's presence to be able to offer that service to you. So think about any type of service. And our leading example is teaching. Okay. Yes, with the aid of technology, now you can record it and so on and so forth. But the typical form of face-to-face teaching will require the presence of the teacher to communicate to the students for them to be able to understand. So it's very, very difficult to separate the service provider from the service itself. Okay, they go together. If you need medical checkup, you need the doctor to work on you. If you need to work on your hair, to shave it, you will need the professional in that field to work on you. Any type of service that you need, you will need a service provider to be present in order to do that for you. Okay, but as I said, with goods, you don't have to know the manufacturer. You can just go to the shop or store and get the product or the good that you want. Okay. Then the last trait of services is the fact that they are variable. So there is variability and heterogeneity. The explanation is closely related to point 3, because the service provider must be the one providing the service at any point in time. And service providers tend to be different. They are human beings, right? And every human being is quite different, quite unique. And so services are not standardized. In fact, even with the same person, depend upon the mood and the health condition of the person, the services that the person offers could vary from time to time. Okay, how much more different people trying to offer the same type of service? Okay, so if we go back to our teaching example, we can hand over the same slide to somebody and give the person the same time to deliver this lecture. The emphasis and the explanation definitely will not be the same as I'm currently doing. Okay, but with product, if you bought a particular brand of phone, you expect that wherever you are around the globe, if it is the same brand and the same type of phone, the phone should look the same. Once there are differences among these phones, then there is something wrong somewhere in the course of the production. Okay, so whilst we expect some form of standardization with goods, when it comes to services, that is not the case at all. Okay, services are normally heterogeneous in nature because the service providers are likely to be very different. And even where it is the same service provider, feeling, its knowledge and skills and abilities could improve or could deteriorate, and that could cause a change in the nature of the service the person can give to you. Okay, so the last attribute is variability and heterogeneity when it comes to services. All right. So these 7 P's are the stuff that I hinted on at the introduction stage. So normally when we're dealing with goods, we go with the traditional 4 P's, but with services, we have 3 more P's that are important when it comes to services. Okay, but let's go through all of them. First, we take product. What is product really when we're talking about service? The first thing we have to notice that we said when we're talking about services, they are intangible, all right? Unlike your mobile phone or wallet that you can pick and hold, services are invisible, they are intangible. So how do we define, how do users, how do customers define service in terms of a product? Okay, so first they look at design and technology. So what it means is that unlike goods where what is most important is the finished product, when it comes to services, consumers and customers are interested in how it is made. The technology that is being used to deliver the service is important. The design and the aesthetics and everything of that service is quite important to consumers. All right. So if you take the example of, say, telecommunication, the main service is probably to aid communication, people being able to communicate among themselves via the airwaves and things like that. But they rely on some form of technology in order to ensure things like voice clarity, in order to ensure things like speed of internet connectivity, and so on and so forth. So if I will assume that consumers, when they are going to buy, will not just be interested in the fact that maybe if I buy the SIM of a particular telecommunication company, I can communicate with somebody, but they'll be interested in the technology that each of these companies will be using, because it has a bearing on the ability to deliver the service that they ultimately will be buying from the service provider. All right, so I hope this point is clear. So with service, the product is defined in terms of, in the form of the technology that is being used to deliver that particular service. The service is being defined as a product in terms of the design. And here, most of the time, we may want to compare, say, hospitality industry, hotels, and say a manufacturing firm. Whilst the aesthetics nature, the design and beauty of, say, a manufacturing company will not be that important, because what is important for the consumer is the final product. When it comes to service industry like the hospitality, the looks and the beauty of the hotel is as important as the bed that the person will be lying on. Okay. Yes. The main thing the person is interested in is an accommodation. But what will cause the customer or the client to come to your hotel instead of going to the other hotel is the beauty and the design and everything that is not so connected or not so relevant to the main thing that the person is looking out for. Okay, so that is that. With service, the definition of the product is also about the design and not just the real utility that you can offer to the customer or the consumer. Okay, with service also, the product is defined in terms of the usability. Now they are interested in the utility, the usefulness of whatever you are giving to them. Okay, does it solve some pain? Does it solve some problem? Does it add value? Does it add quality? What is the nature of the brand? What kind of warranty is being given for that particular service that I'm going for? So trying to appreciate what customers see as a product in the context of service is quite complex than the normal goods. Okay, with normal goods, yeah, we are interested in the finished product, but with service, the package, the totality of how the organization goes about delivery, the delivery of the service is important to the consumer. And I think this is very, very important for all service providers to take note of. Okay, so if you currently have a shop that you offering a service, don't just assume people are coming just because of the service that you are providing. Say barbering salon, right? Yeah, don't just assume people just come there to shave their hair and all that. They are interested in the paints there. They are interested in the beauty of the place. That will cause them, no matter how excellent you are, there are people that you may never attract because of the nature and the design of your barbering salon. So with service, it is very, very important for us to take note that all the things that you will have taken for granted if you went to the manufacturing of goods, you need to pay attention to those things if you are into service delivery, because that is how those things are the basis for defining the product in the context of a service. Okay. Then with service also, yes, they can use the traditional distribution modes. So it could be retail, it could be wholesale. You could provide a service locally. Services can be exported. Services can be delivered via the internet. All right. Maybe the tricky one is the retail and the wholesale. So with wholesale, that is where you have one business offering some form of services to other forms of businesses. So our example of software, you can have a software company that provides those services to other companies. So B2B, all right? Businesses, a business to businesses or business to business. Then retail is where a business now provides a service to individuals. So this time around, the service is not being provided to other businesses, but the service is being provided to individuals. That can be considered as retail. All right. The others are the normal stuff that we will know. All right. That we know, right? In terms of providing the service either locally or exporting that. And providing service via the internet. Those I think are obvious. Then you can use the price. We'll consider this into detail much later. So in service also, you can choose to use penetration pricing strategy. You may use cost plus strategy. You can use loss leader strategy and many other more type of pricing strategies. As I said earlier, price is another one of the important pieces that we'll be looking at. Promotion as well. You can use advertisement, but more significantly under services, you rely a lot on recommendations. And we'll be touching on that later on when we're dealing with people, right? So with promoting services, recommendations are sometimes the best ways to be able to promote your service. Don't forget, we said the service is not tangible, so people cannot hold it. So they will need somebody to tell them that you are good at whatever service that you are offering, and that can then persuade them to come for your service. So services rely a lot on recommendations, all right? And you have to keep that in mind, because when we get to people, I'll be touching on that as well. Then you can use special offers in promoting services. You can use gifts. You can use user testing, all right? So you may just have a promo where people come for free service, and once they are excited, subsequent times, they may be willing to pay for that particular service. Okay, so we come to the new additions. The first one, we want to look at people. So in service, founders, employees, culture, customer service are important, and they are all under people. So the reputation of the founders, the track record of the founders, what they have done before, and their reputation counts a lot. All right. So, for example, if you had a reputation of, say, whatever it is, theft case, any corruption case, and you now own a bank, okay, people that know about the history of the founder or founders are most likely not to patronize the service of the bank that has been opened by such a founder. Okay, with product, with goods, I've already established that you don't have to know the founder, you don't have to know where the company is located, and you will still feel comfortable buying that particular product. But with services, the founders, the originators of the service is very, very important. Your history, your track record, and all that is key to attract people or customers to come to your company to buy that particular service or patronize that service. Right. Then employees. So remember, I spoke about recommendations as one way of promoting services. So the skill set of your employees, their knowledge level, how they treat clients and customers are very, very important in service because of the attribute of inseparability. We said with service, the service provider must be there. Okay, so there is a direct contact between the person who is paying for the service and the provider of the service. What it means is that the skills, the attitude, the abilities, and everything about the service provider, and in this case, the employee that will be working there, is very, very important to the clients that will be there for the service. Okay, once your employees are not good, once they are rude and everything, that is it. You are likely to lose those customers. Compare that to Goose, okay? If there's Goose, the employee, the customer doesn't have to know about your employees. They don't normally care about the rudeness of your employees, except for maybe when they come to the shop directly to buy the products and so on and so forth. Otherwise, if it is retailing or wholesaling, no. The final customer or consumer wouldn't know about the attitude of your employees. But with services, the customers and clients will have a direct interaction with your employees. And that makes employees far, far important. Okay, their attitude and everything important in the context of a service than in the context of goods. Okay, closely related to that is the culture of the organization. Closely related to that is the nature of the customer service. All right. Once again, clients, customers will interact directly with the company. So the culture in terms of how responsive you are to customer complaints, in terms of how you treat customers, will have a direct bearing on their decision whether to come back again to patronize that service or not. So people are very, very key if you are into service. Okay, let's move to the next P. The next P under service that is unique to service is process. And I've touched on it when I was even talking about product within the context of service. Okay, so process here, we are talking about the service delivery process, not the service itself. Okay, how you go about the delivery of the service, it's very, very important. as much as the utility that the final consumer will be getting. All right. So if you're into service, don't just think about the final utility, but the process of delivering the service. And earlier we hinted on the technology that is being used. We hinted on the designs and the looks of your shop. All of those things are important to consumers. So service delivery is key. How it is delivered is very, very important. Then how you deal with customer complaints, things like that. Okay, your response time. All of these things are very, very important when it comes to services. Once again, you're dealing directly with people. Okay, so they come to your shop, it's a barbering shop. Anytime they come, probably it's closed. They may have to call you on phone and beg you to come and work for them, and so on and so forth, to shave them and so on and so forth. It is just a matter of time. Okay, once you start hearing about these complaints, just know that no matter how good you are as a barber or whatever, it is just a matter of time. You are likely to be losing some of these customers. So whilst in product and goods, this might not be too important because the final consumer or customer care less about your processes. When it is a service, in fact, the process will be an integral part of the service itself. Okay, so that is an important P that service providers must pay attention to. The last P is fiscal evidence. Okay, so the idea is that services, as we've explained, by their nature, are intangible. All right, so service providers must try as much as they can to create some evidence, some fiscal evidence for the intangible services that they are rendering. Once again, remember our recommendations that we spoke about under promotion. That becomes one of the key ways to show the fiscal evidence. All right. The service itself, I cannot see, but can I talk to a human being that I can see and probably trust to testify that that company is good in the rendering of that particular service? So your existing customers that are tangible, that others can see and probably trust more than the intangible service, will be better representative of your organization than even the service that you render. All right. So if you're into service, recommendations are important. And once recommendations are important, your processes are important. How you treat and handle your customers and clients are very, very important. All right. So all the other points there, user stories is basically the same as recommendations. Will they testify? What stories will they have after using your service? Okay. Office premises. I spoke about that when I was even talking about the design. How does it look like? All right. Your office premises. I explained that. You might be the best of anything, but when it comes to services, clients and customers are interested in the aesthetics, not just the service itself. Okay. So barbering salon, whatever it is, once the person comes in and the environment is not good, you might be the best of the barbers in town. Next time, the person might not come there again. Okay, so it's very, very important. How the premises looks like is as important as the service that you want to render. If you remember my example of how hotels should look like vis-a-vis how manufacturing firms looks like, that should also help you understand this particular point. All right, so people don't just want a place to sleep. Otherwise, the important thing should have been the bed and the mattress or whatever in that particular room. But that is not what customers or clients are looking for when it comes to hotels. Okay, the looks of the hotels and everything. And people are prepared to pay 10 times more for beauty that they will leave the next day, okay, than a place that is not nice and yet could be cheap. So you need to try as much as you can to provide fiscal evidence if you are into services. And it's far, far more important than in goods, because in goods, the fiscal evidence is the good itself. But with services, you need user stories, you need testimonies, you need recommendations. Your office premises or your shops must look nice, all right? in order to communicate. Sometimes if even you are not good at a particular service, right? But your place is really nice and beautiful, it tends to attract some class of people. Okay, they are not really interested whether the final service will be good or not, but the ambience alone is something that may attract some people. I guess most of us have had that experience before, where you went and either booked some place or sat in some restaurants because of the beauty, right? And finally, when the meal was served, you got disappointed, right? But they have taken your money already, okay? It's the office premises that was important to you. And it is very, very important for service providers to know this. Okay. Then we can classify classification of a product. We are still on product, the P, the traditional P, and we are explaining it in the context of both a service and good, all right? So mostly when it comes to good, but it could also be applicable to services as well. We can classify a product in terms of consumer products and industrial products, all right? So we said a product could be a service or a good. We have to pay attention to that. So consumer products are products made to satisfy personal, family, household use. So they are consumables, things that we use either personally, family, or household. Or we could have products that are for industrial purposes, all right? So they are made up of machinery, manufacturing plants and materials, and any other good or component used by other industries or firms. So these are the two broad classifications of products. We could have consumer products and we could also have industrial products. Okay. Still under products, we have to know about the concept of the product life cycle. Okay, so whether it is a good or a service, it has a lifespan, just as human beings do. Okay, so the PLC or product life cycle describes the stages a product goes through from when it was first thought of until it is finally removed from the market. So that is the product life cycle. Right from the thoughts or imagination stage, idea stage, until it gets out of the market, that constitutes what is known as the product life cycle. All right. That's like people, products are born, grow, mature, and eventually die. But not all products reach the final stage, just as people. All right. So the natural thing will be to grow and age and die, but death could happen at any stage. And that's the same with product as well. Okay, but this diagram provides the normal stage or the typical life cycle of any product that we might know of. So there is the introduction stage, there is the growth stage, there is the maturity stage, then there is the decline stage, all right? And we're looking at that with respect to time and sales, okay? At the initial stages, you see that sales almost zero. As you grow, get to the growth stage, your sales pick up, all right? Then when you get to the maturity, it gets to the peak, then at the decline stage, it starts to fall. Okay, what is important or what we have to know in our discussions under the product life cycle is not so much about the characteristics, but more of the strategies that a marketer should be thinking about at each stage. Okay, so we'll know the attribute of, say, the introduction stage, but the question is, what should a marketer be doing at that particular stage of a product? We'll know about the traits of the growth stage, but the important thing is, what should a marketer be doing if the product is at the growth stage of the product life cycle, and so on and so forth. So let's look at some chart to help us. So at the introduction stage of the PLC, the traits are being considered under three broad categories: sales, costs, and profits. So at the introduction stage, sales, normally we have low sales. we have high cost per customer, then we tend to record negative profits. All right. So this is the stage where the product is not yet known, and therefore the sales won't be that high. This is the stage where you might have invested a lot into fixed assets. You've not yet depreciated and recouped the cost of fixed assets. And so by all means, the cost per customer is likely to be high at this stage. And once these two things are this way, profits are likely to be negative at the introduction stage. Okay, so what should be the marketing objective at this stage? Marketers should concentrate on creating product awareness and trial. So this is the stage where the product is not yet known, the product is not so much trusted. And so it is important that marketers at this stage should spend a lot more time trying to create product awareness. All right. And build confidence in the product offerings that they have for the market. Okay, so what strategies, what should they do? What should companies do? So with regards to their products, companies with product at this stage should offer a basic product. Okay, don't offer product with any complex and extensive features. All right, because the product itself is not yet known. So just let the product be able to serve its core function without any complex features and so on and so forth. All right. At this stage, what should be the pricing strategy? Use cost plus. So cost plus is where you want to cover your cost of production plus some reasonable margins at this particular stage. So you don't want to start already the sales are low, you are likely to have negative profits, but you don't want to worsen the case without recovering your cost of production. So try with cost plus pricing strategy at the introduction stage. Distribution, what should be the distribution strategy? That you should build selective distribution. Okay, the product is not yet known, and distributors, wholesalers, and so on and so forth are likely not to even display these products at prominent places of their shelves. So pick few selective wholesalers and retailers and so on and so forth to deal in this particular product for you. So that is what you should be doing at this stage. What should be the advertising strategy? Build product awareness among early adopters and dealers. So the product is not yet known. So the emphasis of advertisement should be on, and the advertisement is standing for P, promotion, all right? The distribution is for place. So these are the strategies that you have to be dealing with if you are at the introduction stage of a product. The growth stage of a product, what are the traits? And I said the 6 traits are based on the first 3: sales, cost, profits. So there'll be rapidly rising sales at this stage. The cost becomes average cost per customer because you've started making money. You might have be able to recoup some of your fixed assets, the cost of them, and so on and so forth. So the cost per customer becomes average. Profits, what happens? There is rising profits at this stage. What should be the marketing objective at the growth stage of PLC? The objective should be to maximize market share. All right. This is the time to take advantage to increase your presence in the market because sales are picking. Okay. What's the strategy for products? Offer product extensions, service, and warranty. So earlier we said basic product under introduction stage, but at the growth stage, you want to offer product with some features, some extensions. All right. What should happen to price? Now the pricing should be about trying to penetrate the market. Okay, you want to have access to the larger portion of the market. So you try the pricing strategies that can help you to be able to penetrate the market. So what easily comes to mind could be penetration pricing. Okay, but we have other preemptive pricing and other type of pricing that can help you to be able to gain access to the market. What should be the distribution strategy or place strategy? Build intensive distribution. Much earlier, we said you should use selective, but at this stage, you have to build intensive distribution. Okay, what should happen to promotion or advertising? Build awareness and interest in the mass market. So that's what marketers must be doing at this stage. When a product gets to the maturity stage, these are the attributes. So the sales peaks, so we have peak sales, costs, there will be low cost per customer. When it comes to profit, the profit will be high at this stage. So we have high profits. What should be the marketing objective? Maximize profit while defending market share. Okay, earlier on we said at the growth stage, build your market share. Okay, at the maturity stage, you want to maximize your profit, but you also want to protect the market share that you've built for yourself. Okay, what are the strategies for the 4 Ps? With regards to products, diversify brand and models. So this is the stage where you can bring diversity. At the introduction stage, we said just do basic products, all right? But when you get to this stage, because you want to defend and protect your market share, you must now begin to diversify your brand and models. What should happen to pricing? Price to match or beat competitors, because at this point you have made some money. Okay, so the pricing shouldn't be based on cost of production as you started with. But at this stage, you can price either to match or beat your competitors. What should happen to distribution or place? Build more intensive distribution. Okay, and promotion, you should stress more on brand differences and benefits. So at this point, you are well known in the market, sales are fixed, people trust your product. So this is the point to emphasize the difference between your product and any other rival products that may be coming onto the market. So the advertising should be emphasizing or stressing on brand differences and benefits. Okay, so the traits of the last stage, sales begin to decline. So we have declining sales, but there is still low cost per customer. Then there is declining profits. What should be the marketing objective for products that are at this stage, decline stage? So reduce expenditure and milk the brand. Okay, so at this stage, sales are declining. You don't want to invest so much into advertisement or promotion and so on and so forth. So you want to reduce expenditure and then milk that particular brand as much as possible. Okay, so what are the strategies? So for products, phase out weak items. So if you have some weak items among the product lines, try to get them out of the market. What should happen to price? Cut down the prices, because at this point, sales are declining. And if you were to reduce the prices, maybe you may be able to attract price-sensitive customers. What should happen to place or distribution? Once again, you go back to being selective, right? Phase out unprofitable outlets. What should happen to promotion or advertising? Reduce to level needed to retain hardcore loyal customers. So you don't invest so much, but you want to limit your expenditure in advertisement or in promotion. Okay, so this the stages of the product life cycle, and it is very, very important, as I indicated much earlier, not just to know the traits or attributes of each stage, but more importantly, to know the strategies that marketers must embark upon at each stage. Right, still under products, we can't discuss product without looking at the concept of new product development. Okay, so under product, we're still looking at new product development. What is a new product within the language of marketing? So a product is said to be new depending on the perspective of the business or the customer. So in marketing, the concept of newness is not the same as we know the word new, right? Yes, it's one way to see the new, but there could be several other ways based on the perspective of the business or the customer. So new product can be categorized as one, new to the world products. So we can have a product that is new to the world. That is one way. And that is what we are used to when we mention the word or use the word new, right? Yes. But in marketing also, a product is new when it is new to the market. All right. What that means is that the product might have been in existence elsewhere, but this is the first time the product is being introduced to a particular market. So it is not an entirely new product like point one, but this time around, it is the first time it is being introduced to a particular market. That can also be seen as a new product. All right. 3, new product lines in a company. So yes, so we might only currently be dealing in, say, soaps, and later choose to add oils. All right. The oil might not be new in the market, but this is the first time the company is introducing different brands of oils among its product lines. So within that context, that new product line can be considered a new product. Okay. And we can have additions to product or service lines very close to point 3. When you add new service or product lines, that can also be seen as a new product. Then you can bring about some improvement in the existing product itself. All right. So any changes, it could be the packaging, it could be the content of the product, any product improvement at all qualifies that product to be classified as a new product. All right. And the last point is quite interesting. So new application for existing products. All right. So the product could be existing, customers already even have it. But once they can use the same product for a different purpose, that product becomes a new product from the perspective of the customer. Okay. And what really comes to mind is the mobile phones. Okay. For most of us, what we may basically be using our mobile phones for would be to make and receive calls. All right. But for those that really know its applications, some are using it for advanced videos, for advanced cameras and stuff like that. Those into what they call it, statistics, have some type of phones that can allow you to do complex analysis just using your phone. That in time past, you probably need some type of laptop to be able to do those things. All right. So for those people, a phone is not just a phone. The phone could be a complex camera in the hands of the person who knows how to use that. Okay. A phone can be a complex statistical analysis tool for people that know how to use their phones for that. All right. And every day, we all get surprised at certain apps on our phones that we've never used before, but could be very, very beneficial if we knew the use of that particular app. All right. So once you get to know about a new application for an existing product, that product can be seen as a new product from the perspective of the customer. So how do we come about new products? So there are 7 phases to new product development. All right. So it begins with idea generation. There must have been a thought. There must be an idea that is refined. So idea generation, then we come to idea screening. It is not all the ideas that will be generated that will be feasible, that will be sensible in business-wise. All right. And so you need to screen through these ideas and find out the most feasible ideas to implement. So after the idea generation, these ideas must be screened and then the best ones selected. All right. Even after idea screening, you have to go to the next stage known as concept testing. You don't run straight away into mass production once you've screened the idea. No. Okay, you need to develop some concepts and then interact with some few potential customers and clients and get their feedback and opinions about that particular product or service that you want to offer. It is very, very, very important. Okay, so assuming this product also come out, what is your destiny? Will it be something you'll be willing to buy? So through marketing research, you can get some some ideas that will help you to know whether it is a good concept to continue with or the idea need to drop at this stage. And it is important because you don't want to invest so much money into a product or service that will end up failing. So it's very, very important to take the concept testing very serious. At this stage, the product has not yet been developed. It is different from test marketing. All right. The product has not been developed, but you have an idea of what the product will be used for. You have an idea of the uses and the application of that product. So what you want to do is just to find out from potential clients and customers whether it will be useful and it will be beneficial to them, and whether they will be willing to part with money to buy that particular product when you finally produce or manufacture it. All right. It is when you get satisfied with the feedback that you move to business analysis. So the concept testing stage is not so much about pricing or money or cost of production. No, you just want to see whether people will have need for that particular product or that service. Okay, then you move to business analysis stage. This is also critical because you are in business in order to make profit. Okay, it is not just about solving problems, but you also want to make some money out of solving the problem. So the concept could be okay, but if you come to the analysis stage, you may find out that the cost of production could be higher than the price at which you could sell that particular product, in which case it will not make business sense to go into the manufacturing of that product. Or the business analysis could reveal that you can actually sell the product and make some reasonable profit. Okay, once that is satisfied, then you move to the next stage, which is product development. All right, now you've obtained some kind of validation in terms of the usage or patronage. You've been able to convince yourself that you can make some money from that product or service. Then you can go into the product development proper. Okay, but here also, that is not the stage for commercialization. So you want to be careful about the quantity or the volumes of the products or the service that you want to start with. All right, once the product is developed or manufactured or created, you go into test marketing. So test marketing, once again, is very similar to concepts testing, but test marketing is after the product has been developed. Instead of producing at massively or large quantities and then going to the real market and failing woefully or massively, it will be better rather to send few manufactured products to the real market and test how well the concept will be accepted. So at this point, it has moved from concept stage, but you now want to validate whatever response that you had during the concept testing. This time around in the real market, not some potential customers, but you want to deal with real people to see whether the product is acceptable to them or not. Okay, so it's very, very important actually to deal with the concept, to get the concept testing right. If you fail at that stage, what it means is that you may have learned some lessons at the test marketing, but still some investments will have been made. Machines will have been bought. If it is service, you might have hired some place, you might have employed some people, and yet after testing, the product or service failed. Okay, but you still have to do it. That may save you some bits of money than to escape or jump it and get into commercialization. So at the commercialization stage, it is where large quantities of the product or service are rendered to the real markets. Okay, so if you were to meet all the criteria right at the commercialization stage, your product may succeed or do well. But don't also forget about the product life cycle that we just explained. Sometimes the product has potential, it could bring you money, but because it's at the introductory phase, you may have to work more in promoting that product in order to be successful. All right, so these are the 7 phases to new product development: idea generation, idea screening, concept testing, business analysis, product development, test marketing, then finally you go into commercialization. Right, let's look at the elements of product mix, still under products. So product mix refers to the total assortment of all products offered for sale by an organization. All right, so the last point is also the same. Product mix refers to the total group of products that an organization markets. All right, but we also have terms like product item. So that refers to a single product that an organization sells. Then we have product line, refers to all product items of the same type. All right, so all soaps can be classified as product line, but you could have as a company different types or brands of soap in that product line. So if you pick a single soap, it becomes a product item. If you're dealing or talking about all soaps, you can refer to that as product line. All right, or all oils becomes product line. Let's look at product differentiation. And let's hope that might be our last. No, we'll deal with branding as well. So product differentiation. At some stage, I think the growth stage or so, we said you should try and differentiate your product, either growth or maturity stage, if you can remember. Try and differentiate your product from competitive offerings. Okay, so this is where a producer tries to promote an awareness of differences between the products and the products of the competitors in the industry. So you get to a stage in the product life cycle where you think you are making a lot of sales. Your products are more trusted, more valued, and so you want your customers and clients to know the differences between your products and those of competitors. All right, so the producer can differentiate through unique packaging. So you can use your packaging as a means to differentiate your product from those of competitive offerings. You can differentiate your products or services through attractive after-sales service, right? So you can use attractive after-sales service or support as a way of differentiating your product from other product offerings. Okay, you can use unique style and color back to the packaging in order to differentiate your product from those of your competitors or rivals. All right. But the bigger thing or term in marketing that is used to achieve product differentiation is what is known as branding. All right, but branding is not just about product, it's even about the entirety of the company. You want to position yourself in such a way that you are radically different or perceived to be different from other rivals or competitors in a particular industry. Okay, so branding, so that brings us to branding. So branding is a name, term, design, symbol, or any other feature that identifies one seller's good or service as distinct from another's. Okay, so you may rely on a name, a term, a design, a symbol, or any feature in order to make your goods or your products or your goods and services to be distinct from those of others. It is often regarded as a promise to constantly deliver the best to the customer. So whatever brand that you push into the minds of consumers, anytime they buy your particular product, that is what they have in mind. And the brand is a promise that at any point in time, if they were to buy your product, the quality that they had, the expectations that they had will actually be met. Okay, that is the essence of branding. So that if I'm buying a particular product, I have some expectations of that product, and the brand must constantly deliver those expectations. Okay, so we have branding terminologies. Okay, so we can have brand name. Is that part that can be spoken, including letters and words. So brand names simplify shopping, guarantee a certain level of quality, and allow for self-expression, right? Yes. So very easy. If I know of a particular brand, instead of walking around looking for a particular product, I just know the brand that I'm looking for. So it simplifies shopping. We'll look at the advantages or benefits later. Then we have brand mark, elements of the brand that cannot be spoken, i.e. symbols that are used could be part of the branding of a company. So we know about cars, all right, an automobile company. So apart from the name, they normally will have a crest or some other symbol that will differentiate, that will represent the name that they have. So that symbol that they have, Toyota have it, all the other car companies have that, all right? That becomes the brand mark, the symbol. Then you can, under branding, you can use what is known as trade character. Okay, so a popular personality is used. So this time around, it is not any name at all. It is not just a mark, but the name of a person is used as to serve as the brand. All right. And if you're into the fashion industry, that is quite common. Okay. Then we can have trademark, a legal designation that the owner has an exclusive right to the brand or part of a brand. So trademark is what gives you that legal right to a particular brand or part of a brand. Then we have a trade name, which is the full legal name of a particular organization, right? So in company law, coming up with a company name is a whole thing altogether where names are protected because they are brands, all right? Somebody cannot spend years of investments building a name for you to just take one day to name your new company as an existing company. No. So names, trade names are very, very important in all jurisdictions, and they are protected by law. Okay. So let's look at benefits of branding. To the buyer, helps reduce the time needed for purchase. So we spoke about that much earlier. So if you know the brand, you don't struggle to look out for the type of product that you want, all right? And much earlier, we said brands also come with expectations. The expectations also come with a type of price you should be willing to pay for, all right? So once you have all these things sorted out, they reduce the time needed for purchase. Helps reduce buyer-specific risks of purchase. Okay, so that's the other point. You have expectations. So you expect that if you buy this type of brand, you expect this level of quality. All right, so the most common now, I think most of you will agree with, will be say when it comes to the mobile phone industry, iPhone is dominating with regards to quality, right? So if I want a phone and what I'm worried about is actually quality, or what I really want is quality, then once I have the money, I should be thinking about that particular brand. All right. I'm not by this saying other brands are not good. I'm just talking about how that particular brand has been able to position itself. Okay. And if I buy an iPhone, I have some expectations, and that tends to reduce my perceived risks of purchase than buying a brand that I don't know. If I don't know the brand, I will be worried. Will this work? Will it last? And so on and so forth. But once I buy a brand that I can trust, that has the track record, my risk of purchase normally diminishes. Okay. Then the last point, to derive a psychological reward from owning the brand, right? So we take pride. Some don't just wear anything at all. They wear branded stuff, right? So Rolex, Mercedes, and all that. If you use this product, it's come with some pride. It come with some class, and so on and so forth. That is the psychological reward. And so if there is another brand, assuming that brand is even more of good quality than any of these known brands, there will be some that will still prefer to pay more for the known brands than the unknown brand, even when the quality of the unknown brand could be higher than the known brands. Okay, so it also provides buyers with psychological reward. Okay, because if you have that on, yeah, you belong to those class of people, okay, that can take pride in wearing things of such nature. To the seller, it can help to differentiate product offering from competitors, right? So once you build a solid brand, it makes it very easy to differentiate your product from those of your competitors. It helps segment market by creating tailored images. Okay, so with branding can also allow you as a company or a seller to be able to develop different brands for different segments of the market that you want to deal with. All right, so Toyota and most auto companies tend to have different types of brands. Mostly they will have cars that are designed for, say, low income people, then they have middle income, and they have the upper class or the rich. All right, normally when it gets to the rich, the name changes. Okay, so it may be Toyota at the lower level, Toyota at the middle level, but when they want to deal with the higher class or the rich, then they change it to Lexus, for example. All right, or any of the other brands. Normally they will have different branding in order to be able to deal with the segmentation of their markets. All right, a reduced price comparisons. Okay, so once you have the expectation of the type of quality that you want, that expectation should also tell you the amount of money you should be prepared to pay in terms of the price. Okay, so you can't go to a shop and pick an iPhone, whatever, and be comparing it to another brand. I don't want to mention any brand, okay? Because your expectation of quality should also help you to know the kind of price that you should expect from the phone, the type of phone that you have picked. So it reduces comparison. But if there were no branding and you were to pick an iPhone, then you have the right then to comparing with other phones, okay, to find out which ones are less expensive, which ones are more expensive. All right. I hope this point is clear. Right. We're dealing with packaging, and packaging is still an explanation under the first P that we are considering, product. Okay. So packaging consists of a product's physical container, label, or an insert. It makes up approximately 10% of product selling cost. Okay, so as part of designing your product, and packaging most of the time will go with say goods, you want to pay attention to the physical container. Okay, very, very important. We all, I believe, have some packages in our homes. We have used the product over 5 years or 10 years now, but you're finding it difficult to throw the packaging away. Okay, why? Because of the way it looks. All right, so it's very, very important. It's an important part of a product, and all manufacturing companies must pay attention to it. What are the functions? One, protects products and maintain functional form, its functional form. So some products are such that without the packaging, you couldn't have used them. Okay, example is milk, right? So the first one is that it protects products, but for some products, packaging will help to maintain their functional form. It offers convenience, all right? And I think these things are obvious. There are some things you couldn't have carried from point A to point B without packaging. But with good packaging, it makes it possible. So offer convenience. Promotes product by communicating features. All right. So the whole packaging thing is an important promotional tool. Okay. And it is very, very important, as I indicated, that companies pay attention to their packaging because it speaks volumes. All right. Then develop reusable package for alternative use. So there are some packages that we might all have somewhere that we are using for some other purposes apart from the original product that package contained. So these are some of the functions of packaging. Good. Hopefully we are done with products. we now move to pricing. Let's quickly run through that as the second P that we'll be looking at. So price is the value placed on what is exchanged. So price is an indication of the value that has been placed on what you are coming to buy. That is why I said when it gets to branding will help you to stop price comparison, because there is a relationship most time between price and value. But that is not always the case though. Some companies have ridden on that psychological thinking and also taking advantage of people. But the normal thing is that there should have been some correlation, positive, between price and value. Okay, so price is the value placed on what is exchanged. Buyers must determine if the utility gained from the exchange is worth the buying power that must be sacrificed. So it's up to the buyer to think through and find out whether the benefits or utility that you'll be gaining from the product is worth the money that you want to part for the company. All right. So buyers must make that decision because it's an exchange. The company is giving you value or utility, and in exchange, you must provide money or buying power or purchasing power. So it is up to the buyer to make those decisions. Marketers need to understand the value customers derive from a product and use this as a basis for pricing the product. So what people actually buy is utility or value. So if you're a good marketer, what you should be emphasizing to your customers and potential customers is the utility that they will get from the product. Okay, once they get to know how a product will benefit them, then it becomes easy to convince them about the price, because you said there is a correlation. All right, once they can see value in the product, then it becomes easy to be able to price it. Importance of price to the marketer. It is the only element in the marketing mix that can be changed quickly in response to demand shifts. All right, all the others, especially product itself, is very difficult. You have to now go through all the stages that we discussed in order to be able to create a product to meet any demand you may have identified. Okay, but when it comes to price, it's very easy. If demand exceeds your supply, you increase the price. It's as simple as that. Okay, if you are supplying more than the demand, you have to decrease your price, because at that point, what it means is that your products are not so much needed on the market. So it's very, very easy based on a demand shifts to be able to manipulate your prices. All right. If they are demanding more, you take advantage of that to increase. If they are demanding less, then you have to find a way to decrease your price to deal with those shifts. 2, price can be used symbolically to emphasize quality or bargain. I think we've touched on this. So you can use the price to indicate the quality of your products. You can also use the price to show how cheap your products are relative to those of your competitors. So it is not always the case that you may be pursuing differentiation strategy. You may be more interested in, say, cost leadership, where your bargaining chip is being able to sell at lower prices. So you can also use price as the bargain to sell that to your customers and potential customers. All right. Price relates directly to total revenue. So total revenue, as you will know, it is equal to price times quantity. So whatever happens to price has a significant bearing on the total revenue. Okay. So objectives of price, we can use price to increase or maintain market share. We can use price to improve the cash inflows to an organization. We can use price to accept short-term losses necessary for survival. All right. So yes, we'll be looking at methods of pricing. And one way is to have what is known as the loss leader. We can intentionally price some products or some goods at a very cheap prices, even achieve losses on them, with the hope that when customers buy additional products, we'll be able to make more money to recover those losses and make more profit. So you can use prices to do that. Okay. We can use price to maximize profit. You can use price to meet or match competitors' prices in order to compete well in a competitive industry. So pricing methods, we have scheming pricing, penetration pricing, prestige pricing, preemptive pricing, break-even pricing, loss leader pricing, psychological pricing, perceived value-based pricing, then cost plus pricing. Okay, for some of them, we've already kind of hinted or touched on them. So penetration pricing refers to a marketing strategy used by businesses to attract customers to a new product or service. Penetration pricing is the practice of offering a low price for a new product or service during its initial offering in order to lure customers away from competitors. Okay, so basically you want to sell at low prices or sell cheaply in order to win the customers of your rivals. You want to penetrate and gain more market share, so you can pursue penetration prices, selling at lower prices in order to get more customers. Okay. Price scheming is a product pricing strategy by which a firm charges the highest initial price that customers will pay. As the demand of the first customers is satisfied, the firm lowers the price to attract another more price sensitive segment. Okay, so with price scheming, normally when the product comes out, normally they charge very high prices for that particular product. And after some time, when they feel they have satisfied those that really want to brag that they were the first to buy this type model of iPhone, they then lower the price to satisfy customers that may be price sensitive. All right. So yes, iPhone once again demonstrate that most of the time when they want to launch the product, the price is normally so high. But with time, the price comes down to serve those that are also price sensitive. Okay. Normally in with fundraising activities in churches also, these strategies are employed by pastors, right? So they begin the fundraising by starting with some high amounts of money. After the people have made donations of those amounts, they then reduce the price or whatever the amount until it gets to a point where everybody is asked to bring whatever they have. Okay, so that is another price strategy. You start with the highest initial price and then you lower it to satisfy, later lower it to satisfy customers or segments that may be price sensitive. Okay, then we have preemptive pricing. It's usually a price which is slightly less than the normal prices observed in the industry of a particular product or a service. In an attempt to boost sales, some companies even try and set a price which is below the manufacturing price of that product. Okay, so preemptive pricing is where you want to deliberately set your price below the average in a particular industry just to get more customers to buy your product. The difference is that with penetration pricing, you do all that because you want to gain more market share. This is basically, preemptive is where basically you just want to increase or boost sales. They are related, but not the same, all right? One focuses more of what can we do now to expand our market share. The next focus is on how do we boost sales. The sales could be coming more from existing customers, but we want to reduce our prices in order to get more sales. Some could be coming from new customers, but we could also be getting more from existing customers. Okay, but it's quite dangerous because whenever you embark on these prices, you may ignite price wars. All right. You may ignite price wars because once you reduce your prices and your clients or customers are losing their customers, they will have to retaliate. And it will come to a point where all the companies in the industry will be running into losses. So before engaging in any of these price strategies, it is important to know your strengths or the strengths of the company because there could be retaliation and that could be at a disadvantage of all the companies in a particular industry. Then we have prestige pricing, right? From the name, we should be able to explain. So it's the practice of pricing goods at a high level in order to give the appearance of quality. Okay, so we have this psychological effect on all of us that once price is high, that means value is high or quality is also high. So some marketers do that. They do what is known as prestige pricing. So there are people that don't want to use things that everybody is using, things that are common. No. All right. So they will prefer to buy very expensive things because they know that few people will be able to afford that. Okay. So marketers also ride on that and undertake what is known as prestige pricing. Then we can have break-even pricing. It's the practice of setting a price point at which a business will earn zero profits on a sale. The intention is to use low prices as a tool to gain market share and drive competitors from the marketplace. Once again, just like preemptive pricing. But this time around, the company will not get to the point of making losses. They don't want to make profit. They don't want to make losses. They want to break even, right? The advice I gave much earlier is also applicable here. Just be sure of your own strengths if the other rival company starts the price wars, okay? So it is very, very important to know your strength before embarking on a particular type of pricing strategy. Then we have the loss leader pricing. It's an aggressive pricing strategy in which a store sells selected goods below cost in order to attract customers who will, according to the loss leader's philosophy, make up for the losses on highlighted products with additional purchases of profitable goods. All right. So this is very interesting. I'm sure most of us have fallen victim to this without knowing. Because what happens is that if you enter the shop, sometimes the goods that are very basic and don't cost much to the company and even to you are priced very cheaply, okay? And normally they are the very entrance of a particular mall or shop, right? Once you buy those ones and they are cheap, psychological straight away your mind plays games that then everything in that particular shop should be cheaper than where you've been buying from. All right, but what happens is that normally it's just few selected products that are picked, and the marketer or whatever decides that for this particular products we want to make losses just to create the impression that everything in this particular shop is cheap, or from this organization is cheap. Okay, so once you get those cheap ones, you go into a shopping spree, right? Buying everything with the mindset that everything from that particular shop is quite cheaper than where you have been buying from. Okay, you may only get out and realize that for some of the products, the prices are far, far, far expensive than where the other places that you've been buying from. Okay, so they take some losses, some highlighted products or some goods, and then make some high profits on other products that will be bought later in order to balance off and probably make more margins than not using this type of strategy. Okay, then we have psychological pricing. So it's a pricing or marketing strategy based on the theory that certain prices have a psychological impact, right? So retail prices are often expressed as odd prices, so a little less than a round number. So instead of selling something at $20, it is being sold at $19.99. So $19.99. Psychologically, your mind picks the 19. Your mind easily picks the 90 and forgets about the 0.99, but in actual sense, it's as good as $20 or 2.98, right? You almost will forget about the 98 and think that the product actually costs £2 sterling. So marketers are also aware of this, and some employ that, especially in Europe. Okay, when it comes to pricing strategy, they'll just set it at odd prices, and that normally can play some tricks on you to buy. Okay, then we have value-based pricing, a very interesting and my favorite pricing method. So it's a pricing strategy who sets prices primarily, but not exclusively according to the perceived or estimated value of a product or service to the customer, rather than according to the cost of the product or historical prices. So let me take it again. It's a pricing strategy which sets prices primarily, but not exclusively, according to the perceived or estimated value of a product or service to the customer, rather than according to the cost of the product or historical prices. So what we know most of the time is the last type of pricing method, cost plus pricing, okay, where you estimate your cost of production, variable costs, direct labor costs, overhead costs. Then at the end, you decide on a reasonable margin, and then you come out with your price. That is the cost plus pricing, all right? But there are certain products that cannot be priced that way. So they are priced based on the producer's or manufacturer's estimation of the value that that product can give to the consumer or whoever will buy that particular product. Okay, so you cannot determine it by itemizing your cost and then later slashing or adding some margins to determine the price of that particular product. All right, so the example that comes to mind are books. Most of the time when you are an author and you sell a book, especially when you are dealing with students, what they do is to rush to the last page and count the number of pages and then compare the price with how much they would pay if they were running photocopies of that particular book. All right. So to them, the cost should be based on the cost of running photocopy. But that is not how books are priced. Okay. To the author, is pricing it based on what he thinks, the value he thinks is given to you, the ideas that is given to you. So in actual sense, you don't actually have to buy books based on the size or the volume. Okay, you could buy a very tiny book, maybe very expensive, but the ideas and the knowledge that you may pick from that book will radically change your life. All right. So if you were to see that book and you were to calculate the price or whatever based on the number of pages in the book, you'll get it wrong. Okay, so that type of pricing is known as value-based pricing. And if you were even to look at the cost, some of the costs may not be quantifiable. How can you quantify the ideas of people? How do you quantify the time spent in putting sentences together to be able to get a book? Okay, so with this type of products, the producers or the manufacturers will look at their estimations of the value that they are giving to you, the consumer or the buyer, in order to determine the price of that particular product. All right. So let's look at our last slide and pricing. So that will bring an end to our discussions on the first 2 P's out of the 4 P's, right? But much earlier, we tried an explanation for all the 7 P's in the context of services. So what really determines the pricing policy of organizations? One, the cost of production. I think that is obvious. So your cost of production plus your reasonable margins most of the time is the basis for determining price. Okay. Competitors, you don't want to price yourself out of the market. So you are sensitive to the prices of your competitors. How much your competitors are selling a particular product will influence the price at which you can sell yours. You are interested, you must pay attention to your customers. What's the nature of their income levels? Okay, their purchasing power should influence or determine the pricing policy. All right. So if you're dealing with students, you have to know. If you're dealing with workers, that should tell you how to price your product. All right. So, and the business objectives as well. Is it just about making money that will influence your price? Is it really about solving problems in society? And you are very, very concerned about that problem that could influence your pricing policy as well. The nature of the product. I just gave you the example of books. All right. So authors don't finish writing and they count the number of pages, and based on the number of pages, determine how to price. It may be considered, but likely that is not the main determining factor. It depends on their perception of the value that they are providing to the world. All right. That then determines how they will price a particular product, such as a book. Okay. Then government policies could influence pricing policy. Are you operating an economy where government has a say on the price of certain products or services? That can influence how you can price your products. The image or the reputation, you remember our discussions on brands. Okay, the brand of a particular organization can influence their pricing policy. All right. So for some companies, they have developed themselves so much that they can't price themselves low. No. All right. If they do that, they will actually be damaging the image or the reputation they have built for that particular organization. So the reputation can actually influence the pricing policy of a company. Then finally, the state of the economy, very similar to the customers, right? Yeah. If people do not have income, inflation is high, purchasing power low, that should influence the pricing policy of a particular organization. So thank you very much for your attention. This will bring to an end our discussions on the first two pieces that out of the 4 pieces. So in our third part of the lecture on marketing management, we will be looking at promotion and then place. All right. So thank you very much for your attention.